ladies and gentlemen, if there were ever a buongiorno, it would be today. Am I right? Put your hands
Fun.
together for our Italian friend, Andre Dimino.
Thank you, Joe. Good to see everybody. Thank you, Sue. So Joe wrote me into talking about the product that we just announced recently. And although we're a medical device company, we're actually launching a product into the veterinarian field. So Joe, I put together a PowerPoint if that's okay, Joe.
By all means, go right for it.
Everybody got it?
Yep.
All right. First off, of course, our company has been a proud member of Joe's MDG Premium from the beginning, and we encourage everybody, anybody, and all to join MDG Premium.
You don't even have to be in the industry. Just
join.
join.
It's been a great experience. It's always nice to see all of the nice faces on the screen every Friday morning.
Appreciate that. And your company was founded by your father, am I mistaken?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was founded in 1969. My father founded originally was for strictly research and development. My father came to the United States from Sicily in 1950 and had actually multiple PhDs. He was in school till he was 30, physics, chemistry, and electronics PhDs, and he did research in a number of areas. One of those areas was in the electronics area, specifically related to medical applications of electronics.
What do all those letters mean? OTC, QB, ADMT.
Yeah, we happen to be a public company traded
Oh,
on the OTC market, on the QB, which is the regulated. We're a full reporting company on the OTC market.
dare I look up that stock?
Yeah, that's the symbol, ADMT.
How much is it trading for today?
It's supremely, in my opinion, supremely undervalued at 8 cents a share. So, but we operate an FDA registered facility, ISO 1345. There's a picture of the front door. And we do both our own development work as well as contract electronic medical device development. And we consider ourselves to be a one-stop shop because we do the engineering, regulatory, and manufacturing. We've primarily focused on therapeutic aspects, and that goes back to the research that my father did originally and my own research, going all the way back to those that may know about Jacques d'Arsonville in France in the 1870s that determined the effect of alternating currents on tissue and on organs. And then fast forwarding to a number of things such as bone growth stimulators, vagus nerve stimulators, and so forth that are being out there today. And we've developed over 50 patents, either for our own products or for our customers' products on a contract basis. And a number of the technologies that we developed internally on an OEM basis, we spun out to other companies. You know, we're really focused on the technology area. We're not a marketing company. So we typically try to find partners that either want to acquire the technology or become exclusive distributors for it so that we can go on to our next development. So our internal technology capabilities, of course, the electronic side with PCB systems, mechanical machining, we have CNC, we have laser cutters, sheet cutters, metal cutters. So we do all the development work internally. We also have full rapid 3D prototyping, both additive and subtractive. And we hold the certified instrumentation required in order to do whatever necessary for all the regulatory requirements internally. And this is just a sampling, just a small sample of different products that we've developed over the years. And they cover the gamut, urological, respiratory, physical medicine, orthopedic, wound care, neurological. Some of these we developed for ourselves and sold off or spun off, and others we've developed and helped other companies.
Carts on the right there.
What's that?
The carts on the right, the blue carts?
This over here?
All the way on the right, yeah.
Yeah, this is it's actually a device which is going before the FDA right now under a PMA. It's our client called Origin Medical. And what it is, it's a device that uses plasma energy to convert the nitrogen and the oxygen in the air to a supply of nitric oxide for the treatment of diabetic foot ulcers. Did the first study, was very successful, and now they're going to be doing, that was a dose ranging study, and now they're going to be doing a pivotal study for submission of a PMA. And we developed that product from the ground up for them.
Nice.
But today we're talking about the product that Joe wanted me to talk about, and that's a product that we're bringing forward. As I said, although we're in the medical device arena, this is a veterinary device that came out of our research in the medical area. And the device is called the Vet Sonatron. And you notice, Joe, the dog that I have.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
That's specifically for Joe.
Oh, hello.
There you go. Hey, Michelle.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be getting one of these, whatever it is.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
So,
Who's your pet there?
This is Lily.
Oh,
Lily,
oh,
Look-
you know, I
look
didn't
at her cute
recognize
little
it. She's
underbite.
grown up so much.
Mhm.
how old is Lily?
Lily is a year and a half, so she's
Oh,
a
okay,
little bit of a
teenager.
baby.
Yep.
Mhm.
So the device is it's a therapeutic device that we've put into both the small animal and the equine area. So some background on how we brought it to market. First off, it's a pulsed radio frequency therapy device. It's non-invasive, it's an electrotherapy, and it's specifically for the treatment of musculoskeletal pain. And as you know, most people think of radio waves nowadays in the megahertz and gigahertz range, where this actually is in the kilohertz range, considered medium to low frequency radio, and it's pulsed at an audio rate of 1,000 hertz. So you're talking about a pulsed radio frequency therapy that it's a non-invasive, non-touch therapy that puts the energy into the tissue. So as I mentioned before with Darsenval, where he was actually connecting wires directly to the patient in order to put AC across the tissue, this is doing it without contact by just inducing the electrical field without touching the tissue.
Did you happen to get in touch with Al from last week? Did
Oh,
you?
as a matter of fact, I had a meeting with him just the other day, and thank you, Joe, for the connection. We're looks like he put us into his beta test for the analysis of his product. So that was a good connection, Joe. Thank you.
Nice. It
That,
works.
and that's the benefit of MDG,
There
everybody.
you go.
So some background on how we brought this forward. First of all, you know, unfortunately, I have to tell you, electrotherapies have had a bad name over the years. There's been a lot of quackery and all kinds of stuff that's been brought out, all kinds of weird claims and so forth. So we wanted to make sure that we had the science behind this. So we started off, of course, to make sure that there was safety in this. So we did a laboratory model for arthritis and safety, which showed there was no adverse effects, and that was radiologically and with chemistries and so forth. And it showed a positive effect on the progression of arthritic disease, plus reduced edema and a clear demarcation between joints on a laboratory basis. Then we elevated that to a larger model in equine, which was a regular model for studying osteoarthritis, and that used gait analysis, goniometric measurements, joint circumference, range of motion, and radiographic analysis. We were very pleased with the output because it showed, and this was with the report of the investigators, it showed a significant reduction in lameness, increased range of motion in the joints with less edema, significant reduction in gross pathological lesions, and plus one thing that was very interesting, which led into the mechanism of action, was analysis of the synovial protein in the joints that were treated versus the untreated. And it showed a marked reduction in collagen protein levels in the synovial fluid on the treated versus untreated. So that was a cellular effect that the investigators determined was from intracellular osmotic penetration. So there was definitely a physiological effect instead of just, for example, a blocking of nerve endings that's done by other electrical things. So this showed an actual efficacy effect with respect to that. From that, we did, because eventually we're going to be going for the human model of this. So we did conduct a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study of osteoarthritis of the knee. And that under 4 parameters came out very successful with a P level of 0.001 in our human studies. And of course, we're going to be using that when we go forward for the FDA submission for our human model of this technology. But back to the veterinary.
Ironically, I
Sorry?
actually might need to find somebody that has got one of these because Lily has got, they suspect that she's got some kind of immuno-regulated arthritis thing. Even
Okay.
though she's only a year and a half, she's having some sort of immune response. It's causing her joint in one of her wrists to like swell and be painful and limp, and it's filled with fluid, and they drain the fluid, and then it gets better for a little while. And so,
Oh, Michelle, I got a little video on here that you're going to be very interested to see because you're going to literally see the edema going down on one of the thoroughbreds that was treated. That's coming up a little bit later. So,
awesome.
but certainly we could talk about it afterwards, Michelle.
Yeah, that's cool.
So obviously, on an engineering standpoint, everything you see, we had to develop ourselves, the inputs, the outputs, the therapy, and so forth, the special connector, and the way it's applied is with a handheld applicator, which you see at the bottom of the screen. So it's really comprised of 2 units, which is the base unit itself, which is AC powered. It only weighs about 14 pounds or so. It's kind of a desktop or tabletop model. And then there's a handheld applicator that's used to apply the therapy directly to the joint specific area that you want to treat. So after we conducted those studies, we decided to put some units out in the field to get some input from veterinarians and other trainers and so forth. So literally for the past 2 years, we've had units out in the field for evaluation. And on the canine side, based upon those valuations, we had a significant number of things that were reported back to us showing beneficial. The most dramatic one was with hip dysplasia. And as many of you probably know, in the larger dogs, that's one of the conditions that really bothers owners, that after, when they get older, these dogs get hip dysplasia. They can't lift themselves up. You know, big Labradors, Shepherds, and so forth. Collies are very prone to hip dysplasia. We've gotten very good results on hip dysplasia. I'm not going to go through each one of these here, but you can see that from the field evaluations that we did, we got very good response on a number of indications for musculoskeletal conditions in canine. And I always love getting the testimonials from people, you know, and just as a side note, you know, I got a bunch of engineers that work here, and we have a morning meeting every day, a 15-minute meeting, a scrum meeting. And almost every day I tell them how great it is to be an engineer that's working on products that help people and animals. You know, it's really rewarding instead of just engineering a bridge or something. So getting a testimonial is nice. So here's a testimonial we got about Angel, which was a Labrador, and was the first treatment produced startling results. Angel was able to rise from a sleeping position by herself, a rarity, and walk from the carpeted living room onto the linoleum kitchen floor, something she had been unable to do for months. And that was a lab that had hip dysplasia. Equally on the canine, on the equine side, on the horse side, we also got very good response. And the most dramatic we saw was with osteoarthritis and secondarily with navicular syndrome. If you don't know what navicular syndrome is, that's something that's very common in trotters and in some thoroughbreds, where it's a painful condition in the hoof, where the hoof gets very swollen and painful, and the horse will then favor that, and it's very difficult. They limp on that side. But you can see here all the other conditions that were treated and got very good results on. So over the past 2.5 years or so, we've heard it from a number of vets and so forth, getting good results on these different conditions. And this was just strictly for evaluations.
Do you have what I guess the equivalent of a clinical trial for this?
Well, no. I mean, these are not controlled clinical trials. They would be anecdotal. These are people that are testing it in the field themselves. So we're not collecting specific evidence, and it's not comparative. It's really just experiential testing of the device.
So how do you, I mean, from a marketing standpoint, of course, for human medical devices, it's imperative to have clinical studies showing, you know, versus control versus what's
Sure.
on the market. How you
well, we did
credibility beyond, I have this great, you know, canine testimonial.
No, absolutely. No, in the human side, that's a completely different story. We do have a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study of osteoarthritis of the knee. It was done on 5 centers on 100 patients. That was the first study that we did, which was kind of a pivotal study for us. And we're now going forward with the human model once we got the veterinary model on the market, and we are conducting additional studies for the human application. So you're right, Joe, that will be a much more controlled basis. The horse study that we did put us into this area for putting the unit out for animals, and that's why we put the prototypes out for testing in the field. And what you see on this page is the results of the prototype testing.
Barry?
Yeah, Andre, great so far. Are you working with like veterinary training centers? I mean, New Bolton Center is literally 2 miles down the road from me, which is a huge equine center. Are you working with groups like that to then get, you know, additional clinical data for this device?
Well, we have, and we certainly would be interested in doing additional. We work with the University of Wisconsin in Madison, Wisconsin, with their veterinary teams that were up there. So that was where we did the initial equine studies. But no, we have additionally from that we haven't, and we're certainly looking to do more studies like that.
Yeah, let us connect offline. I mean,
Okay.
Our veterinarian has done a lot of orthopedic studies and actually graduated from University of Pennsylvania, New Bolton. So he's certainly connected there, and literally, again, he's around the corner too. So it's all in the neighborhood. So would be happy to introduce you to him, and you can talk to him about what you're doing, and I'm sure he'd be interested.
Oh, that's
This
great,
is your
Barry.
veterinarian for your own small pet, or
Yeah,
someone?
exactly. Yeah, but he does, he's done other, I don't know if many of you might remember the racehorse Barbaro, unfortunately, that broke the forepaw. And he was at New Bolton for, 6 months trying to heal that. Unfortunately, that was unsuccessful, but yeah, it's certainly a world-renowned center for horses and other large animal.
Yeah, there's no question, Barry. I know New Bolton because actually one of the horses that were treated with our device was then brought to New Bolton for analysis. So, we didn't have any connection with them, but the owner of the horse did bring it to New Bolton. So I'm aware of it, and I know their reputation is great.
Yeah. So I'll get you an introduction to Dr.
Great.
Barnsley, and see if he can get you an entree to New Bolton.
An
Thanks,
entree
Barry.
for Andre would be great.
Yeah, there you go, Joe. Another benefit of MDG, right? So, we have one good testimonial I want to share on the equine side, and it says it was almost unbelievable how it worked. He'd be dead lame in an hour or so after treatment with the machine. He would be sound. We were able to get him to the horse. That we get the horse back to the races, and that was on a thoroughbred. Always good to see those testimonials. So,
Ginger, I'll just put the mic on if you don't want to come on camera.
Oh,
You
yeah,
comment
no,
here?
sorry, I just came from my barn, so I'm kind of a disheveled mess.
Well, I
Anyway,
think the fact that you just came from a barn and we're talking about animals means you.
yeah, I live on a hobby farm and I've tried a lot of these. I regularly have horses with PEMS treatments. We had Shockwave for chronic lower limb ring bone, which is abnormal bone growth around those fetlock joints. But navicular, the bone, similar to like your last phalanges on your hand, it rotates vertically downward in navicular. And so it is really serious. It's a big cause of euthanasia. If you can catch it early, if this helps navicular, the bone can actually come through the bottom of the hoof, right? And then you're cooked. But it's very painful and very serious if they get it. And it can be caused by, shock trauma, eating metabolism disorders, too much grain at a time. So there's a lot of good treatment for this if you can keep a navicular horse sound, even if they're recovering. In the retiree market, a lot of people have navicular, they can't be ridden anymore, but they want to keep them comfortable. So
Joe, I can't see, who is that speaking?
That was Ginger.
Ginger.
Hi,
Yeah.
Ginger. Yeah, Ginger, in
Hi.
fact, I got a little video on here that's going to show an actual treatment on navicular.
Okay.
So
You want to,
did put-
Andrew, do you
sorry.
want to come on and ask your question before he shows his video?
Sure. I was just wondering if you've done any studies on how long the beneficial effects last.
Yes, that's part of the therapy I was going to explain later, but after multiple treatments, the reduction in pain and the increase in range of motion usually lasts for a couple of months thereafter. This is not a cure, it's a therapy, but it does have long-lasting effects. After a single treatment, they'll notice for several days the response being good, then there is a reversion. So that's why it's recommended to have a minimum of 4 treatment visits.
Interesting. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so I'll just show you, this is a brief video, just to show you both the treatment on a dog with hip dysplasia and a horse that has exertional rhabdomyolysis. How's
Yeah.
that for a term?
Must have taken a
Exactly.
while to practice that.
And these are both veterinarians that are reporting on here. A dog would not stand up. They couldn't get it to stand up because of the hip dysplasia.
Mm.
That's after one treatment?
That was,
No.
well, it's one treatment session. There's multiple, you apply the device
Yeah.
multiple times. I'll explain the therapy in a minute, but that's after one treatment visit.
How long did that
That'll
take?
that'll last for a couple of days, and you want to treat them multiple times for that.
So when the dog was unable to stand, you took the device to its hip, and how long were you doing that? 10 minutes, an hour, what?
Say that again. I'm sorry, Joe.
How long were you treating the animal during that session for it to be able to stand?
Okay, so there's a slide I'm going to go over with which is therapy, but just to let you know, it takes about 5 minutes or so to apply the therapy, but there's a way you apply it. And I'm going to show that a little bit later.
Mhm.
Okay, now this is the horse, the thoroughbred, the veterinarian treating it.
There's not much pain on this side. Now here, see? So, okay, and you can see the prominent bulge here compared to here. This is swollen up, and the key fluid kit. You see, no fluid flow. That's around 18 minutes after treatment. So this is the affected area. Now I am palpating in. pressing as hard as I can. Looks like sonarphone plays a very important role in terms of pain management as well for acute cases. So the thing is, it's good.
So, you saw the dog obviously had a very chronic condition where the horse had an acute condition. And, you can see that after the therapy, within a little short time after the therapy, they actually see response. So, Joe, this is getting to how you use the product.
Mhm.
We wanted it to be very easy to use and easy to apply. And so what the unit does, it produces what we call a treatment unit. And a treatment unit, it's a 15-second output followed by a 5-second cool down period. So you see on the left side, there's a handheld applicator, and you actuate the trigger. And when you actuate the trigger, there's a countdown which goes for 15 seconds. And as you're doing it, you're just using the front of the applicator and just creating a circle over the area to be treated.
You keep
And
your
I've got a
finger
little bit-
on the trigger the whole time?
No, you don't have to hold the trigger. No, you just actuate it. Once you actuate it, then it goes off automatically for 15 seconds. And then on a microprocessor controls it, it shuts it down. There's a 5-second period, and then you're ready to go again, and you could just actuate it again. And so what you're doing is you're applying multiple TUs for a treatment session. Now, typically it depends on the size of the area being treated and the depth that you want to go. So it's either 4 treatment units minimum or 12 or more. So the actual therapy that you're applying is about 1 to 3 minutes of output. So it's a very short duration of therapy that's applied to the joint. Now, there could be a couple of minutes in between each TU, but over the course of maybe 5 minutes, you're applying this therapy. And as I mentioned before, you want to do 4 treatment sessions in order to have longer term results. We find that it becomes cumulative after each treatment session. The results last a little bit longer each time. So we recommend a minimum of 4 treatment sessions done within a 1 to 2 week period. And another brief video. This is showing the application of TUs on dogs.
It doesn't look
Hey,
like
Andre.
he's feeling
Sorry.
it.
So
Right.
yeah, it's just a mild warmth that you feel. There's less than a 1 degree centigrade increase in the tissue. So it's just a mild warmth that's felt. It doesn't bother the animals. There is a sound. We can't get away from the sound. There's no speaker that's actually coming out of the therapy itself. There's no transducer. It's just the sound, the pulsing of the radio frequency that causes that sound. And people are concerned that it bothers the dog, but after a couple of seconds, the dog really doesn't even notice any longer. Horses are a different story. I've treated a number of thoroughbreds that as soon as they hear that noise, they jump a little bit. If anybody's been with skittish horses, thoroughbreds, that's probably Ginger laughing, right? So
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, no problem. But I can tell you that I learned the hard way that you got to be very careful with startling a horse.
Hard way meaning you were kicked pretty forcefully.
I was kicked by a horse, yes. But we, the way we do with horses, you just actuate it with your hand on the side of the horse, so he realizes it's not any kind of a painful thing. After they hear it a couple of times, then it should no problem. And then Ginger, here's the treatment on navicular syndrome. This is a veterinarian treating a trotter.
Mhm.
This has front navicular and front left. So it's treated directly into the. You want to get into the soft
Into the
tissue,
soul.
soft tissue on the inside of the hoof.
Mhm.
And you'll see now the next one will be a full 15-second treatment, which is 1 TU.
Mark typed in the comments, how far away from the animal are you when you're doing this? It looks like you're.
Yeah, you want to be within about an inch, between a ½ inch to an inch away. You don't have to touch the animal with the applicator. Just you want it to be exposed within an inch to a ½ inch.
Mark, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was a drop off, the farther you go away, and I assume there is. So I was just wondering what the actual therapeutic distance was to
Yeah, Mark.
whatever the
Yep.
spot.
Yeah, you want it to be within an inch to a half inch. It can go through clothing, bandages. It can't penetrate through metal. It actually gets attracted by the metal. So therefore, you want to make sure that there's nothing in the way of it. But you're right that if you're further away, you would lose some efficacy because there's a depth of penetration that occurs. So you don't want the penetration, or you want to have the maximum penetration where you're doing it. So, and we found that to be within a half inch.
Rachel, you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Sure. And I'm sorry if I missed this, but I was just curious what's happening at a cellular level or at a muscular, tissue level that's believed to be the mechanism of action.
So there's two areas. Number one, there's vasodilation that occurs. So there's an opening of blood vessels that brings blood flow to the area. But number two is what I had on the other slide, where in the synovial synovial fluid, they analyze a reduction in collagen protein, which the investigators determined to be that there was a cellular osmosis that was occurring that reduced the collagen protein. And if you reduce collagen protein, that reduces the inflammation in the area. And that's why you have an immediate increased range of motion and a reduction in pain. So that's the closest we've come to the mechanism of action.
So the collagen is reduced, is what you're saying?
That's what they found, yes.
Oh. Are there any studies where I could read a little bit more about this?
Yeah, there are. I don't have the referrals here, but I can put those down.
Curious, thank you.
Sure. So Joe called this how we launched the product, so I figured I'd tell you what we're doing with it going forward. We're actually in the midst of now our very first production run of the product. We've gone through all of the device controls. We applied our medical device to this, so therefore we had a full device master record. We have our design history files, and now we did a transfer to production, so we're in our first production run. Based upon the studies that we did over the past 2.5 years, or the evaluations that we did, we've got a number of pre-orders from veterinarians, and they're both on the small animal side and the equine side. But as I noted from the beginning, we're technology people, we're not marketing people. So therefore, we're putting on a number of distributors right now. So we are looking for distributors, and we're looking for customers. So if you know of any veterinarians or distributors in the area of animal health, we're certainly interested in speaking with them. And we've established a third-party leasing program whereby, a veterinarian can secure this. We have a leasing company that leases specifically to veterinarians, veterinary equipment. So it's third-party leasing that could choose either a 3-year or a 5-year lease. And that's all I got to present. So I appreciate it. And it's always nice to be able to do something with our people at MDG.
And we appreciate that. What would you say is an overarching lesson that someone like Marvin or Nicholas that are looking to introduce products for the first time can take away from your experience here?
Well, for me, what the most important thing, even though it was a veterinary product, is we did follow the procedures with respect to, bringing a medical device forward. So we did all of our initial design work. We documented all that, so we didn't have to go back and retrace our steps. Then, of course, we created a device master record to make sure we would know how to manufacture the device properly, do all the engineering to make it our DFM, a design for engineering, a design for manufacturing work. And with the veterinary product, it was new for us, so we had to figure out a way to get people to pay attention to it, and that's why we put the unit in the hands of actual users. And that was extremely helpful to us. We learned a lot from that, and we made certain changes to the device to accommodate the input that we got from the user experiences. So I guess those are the things that really helped us get the product forward.
How did this, given that I think of you as a contract manufacturer where 80+% of your business is people coming to you and saying, hey, I've got this thing, will you make it? How did you get in the business of creating this product to be, I guess, branded by ADM?
Well, actually, it's because that's where we first started. Our company was founded in 1969. We had our own first medical device on the market before there were medical device laws in the United States. As you know, 1976 were the medical device amendments. We had our first device on the market in 74. But because we built an internal infrastructure for developing our own products, by necessity, we learned how to do it ourselves. We then started doing it on a contract basis. So we do the engineering, development, and manufacturing on a contract basis. And you're right, that is a big part of our business, but we still develop our own proprietary products and either license them out, spin them off, or in this case, we're manufacturing it ourselves.
Well, I'm thinking that the risk profile of building your own for yourself is much higher, so aren't, to some degree, you at least risking margin compression, if not the company on, hey, let's go to market with a brand new thing.
Yeah, well, that may be true, but we do have, let's say, very good hopes for this product to do well. We also want to do the human version of this. And, we want to get it to a point where it's got some market penetration, because then it brings more value for possibly a spin-off or an acquisition of that technology. We've done that before. We had a PEMF device that we developed for ourselves, and then that was spun off and that was acquired off of us. So, that's something that we've done in the past with other technologies.
I invited Brian Burke today. He wasn't able to make it. He's the president of AlphaStim, a 10X alumnus. This is about muscles, not about, I've used
Transcutaneous
transcranial.
nerve stimulators.
Yes, I think it helped. Oh. This is very different or somewhat similar. I don't know.
It's not similar because it doesn't create an analgesic effect. Transcutaneous nerve stimulators, causes neurological block to reduce or eliminate or confuse the pain. Where this is, as you can see, very short duration, a minute to 3 minutes, and it has longer term effects. So it's not exactly like transcutaneous nerve stimulators. I happen to know Brian Burke. As a matter of fact, I had a meeting, call with him the other day, and we are talking to him about his AlphaStim product. It's a very interesting product. That's a neurological product that puts electrical energy into the neural tissue, into the brain, for different effects, for example, insomnia and migraines and so forth. So there's a lot of different areas with respect to
How did you
electrotherapy.
come across Brian? Did he reach you? You reach him?
He was referred to us.
Did I do that? Did I do that? I don't know. Apparently, at a minimum, Nellie needs a back rub because she's looking for some kind of pain relief at this point. Nellie, you want to talk to us about what you need?
With having sciatica, anything in the hip area, just because, with all the sitting, doing my wonderful quality work, it has directly impacted the hip. So I can't wait. I'm watching the animals going, wait a minute, I want it. When can I get it?
I think for now, you just better solicit some help from Mr. Bushman. I mean, just as a stopgap.
Yeah, I could do that, but he's not a very good massage person. So he's got better traits.
Mr. Harmon, I'm interested in your take on today's presentation, if you have some ideas for Andre. Michael Harmon. Oh, that Michael. Yes, please.
I have a bunch of thoughts. I've worked on similar electrophysical devices. I'm very interested in how you're doing this with no contact. It's really cool. And I have people that are working on neural stimulation devices that offline I'd like to connect with you, and potentially there's a development opportunity there for you guys as well.
Well, thanks again, Joe. I appreciate it. And Michael, certainly be happy to talk with you. This has been my life now for 40 years. And I could tell you for the first 20, nobody believed in this stuff. So I'm really pleased now at the acceptance now of these different therapies. And that's what we really specialized in. By the way, just for Nellie, based upon what Nellie said, I could tell you that nearly almost everybody in our company treats themselves with this device all the time.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, everybody. I treat myself. I have a peritendinic thumb, and we all treat ourselves and getting great results with it. But it's not a medical device yet. We're going to be submitting to the FDA under 510K.
How much?
Can that be an MDG premium little bonus?
I was about to say, like, everyone gets one. How much do
it.
you charge for this, Andre? And I just put your phone and email in the chat for folks who want to reach you directly.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no. For MDG members, there's no charge. This is not a medical device, and it's a veterinary device right now. So.
Free. Everyone just put your address there, and Andre
but the condition is you got to get to Northvale, New Jersey.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
How big is it to ship? I'm sure, if Jen were here, she'd be all over you about the packaging.
yeah.
How
I'd be all over it myself from some of my older horses,
Where are
Yeah.
you, Ginger?
I'm in Wisconsin. I'm outside of the
okay.
Twin Cities on the western part. So yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
There you go.
we did do the work at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Exactly. And the U of M, the Leatherdale Center, Doug and Louise Leatherdale donated like millions to the U of M for an equine center. So they do a lot of research up there.
Yep.
Andre,
It's
I'm asking,
Majorhood.
how big is it? How heavy is it? And how much is it retailing for?
So it's the unit itself weighs about 15 pounds. It's a desktop type unit. The handheld applicator is just a couple of pounds. And it's going to retail for 21,000.
21,000. And you're giving them free to all of us?
No,
Wow.
I'll give the therapy for free here in our office. So.
Oh, that's quite different. That's quite different. So when we do 9X in northern New Jersey, near the Palisades Parkway, you get a free treatment. That is,
Absolutely.
yeah, I can definitely put on the homepage. Barry, you have
Absolutely.
something?
Well, and you get Bridgegate for free, right?
That's right.
You know, Andre, you should consider the home use, coming up with a small model for the home user, because I can guarantee you, I would probably buy it for like at least me, my aunt, and my adopted mom right away, just without even question.
You know, I don't know. I mean, you might, but I don't know that that's true. I mean, because
Oh, no, it's true.
no,
It is.
hold on. I'm just saying that, and I'm sure this conversation came up with Brian Burke, if not yet, it will, about the great skepticism that people have about therapy with electricity. Like, this is going
Right.
to relieve your pain, this is going to relieve your anxiety.
Right.
You know, where's all of the evidence?
Well,
You know, it's like
also,
quackery.
Joe, you got to consider that when this goes before the FDA, it will be a class 2 prescription level device. So it's going to be by or on the order of a physician. So Nellie, yeah, we absolutely agree. It would be nice to have a home use model, but
Good
the actual
luck.
therapy is going to be by or on the order of a physician.
Check out the company called Red Therapy. They're a potential client of mine. I know they're kind of getting funding, but they're actually using a red therapy that you wrap around different parts of your body, and it's
Yeah,
pretty remarkable.
Nellie, we worked on that. Uses infrared, probably infrared therapy, 660 nanometer, 830 nanometer. We've done a lot of research on red therapy as well, both laser and LED.
Andre, is this working off of electrotherapy, or is it actually sound waves?
It's electrotherapy. The sound you hear
Okay.
is just a consequence of the pulsing. It's a long to medium wave radio frequency that's pulsed at 1,000 hertz. So the
Okay.
sound you're hearing is the pulsing of the radio frequency.
Okay. Do you guys work also in like sound waves as well, ultrasonics, as well as then shockwave?
Yeah, we helped develop one incorporeal shockwave therapy device.
Okay.
One of the applicators for that in order to get deeper penetration. So very familiar with that area
Yeah,
as
so
well.
you're not actually then blunting nerve function as well as the effect you're getting on the tissue.
Right, no.
Okay, got it.
Michael, is this your company you put in the chat? I see you're a network partner, but that's not your site, right? Is it?
No, it's not. It's a local nonprofit I work with that helps commercialize medical technologies. I was just dropping it in there as a resource for some people. They can help a lot with what you're talking, Andre, here in terms of finding the right market and launching and things like that. They're a free service based here in Rhode Island. I work very extensively with them. I highly recommend their resources. I just wanted to drop it in there for people.
Next week, Ed Capabianca is also going to be talking about his product. For those of you who are frequent contributors to this.
Me and my team are going to be speaking with him too.
Is that right? Okay. So then why don't you tell us a little bit about what he's working on?
So he's got a catheter for paralyzed men that is actuated by a magnet to drain the urine so that they don't necessarily have to have a big bag attached. So it's pretty cool. And we just had my team just had a pre-sub meeting yesterday. He also has been on quite the journey with his MDR CE mark, as they are want to be these days. And that is, he's finally, after more than a year now, coming up on the final decision on that, which is looking very positive. So he's
Did you
gonna
help
talk
him with
about
that?
that journey, and no, he was already working with somebody before we hooked up about that.
Basile, of course,
Somebody in the UK.
Basile is coming to 10X again this year. So it'll be good to see him. I'm sure he has a thing or two to say about that. In fact, I think his topic is about how this is like the worst regulation or something that he's had to deal with. So next week we're talking about his urinary. Now, you talked about having a bag, like it's to prevent an ostomy. I just think of his work as just not needing to recatheterize yourself a few times a day.
Maybe I got that part wrong. I thought that that was associated with it too, because a lot of times they will hook those things up to.
Okay, well,
But yeah, it's also to prevent the risk of infection from the constant catheterization.
Ms. Mitchell, are you asking about next week's Eddie or this week?
Next week.
Next week. Well, he's out of the UK. And Michelle, I guess she's asking you, would this be considered a class 3 device?
We are got a reasonable strategy, we think, for a class 2, but I think the FDA is leaning towards de novo.
So then it's a different path for the 510K then.
No, you submit
Yes,
de
it's-
novo.
it's different from the 510K. So
Yeah.
de novo is somewhere in between the 510K and a PMA.
Yeah.
And then usually the outcome of a de novo is that you get down classified to a 510K class.
Yeah, you have to argue why you would be a class 2 versus give just why they should classify it as a class 2 and what special controls would apply. So anybody else coming in, you can use you as a predicate device and go in with 510K afterwards.
So I know on the panel, there are a lot of experts on FDA related subjects. I just wondering if anybody knows that how does the FDA listing, do you have list your device by model or by each device type? Because like there's a model, you can have series related type. But when you do the FDA listing, device listing, do you do it by type, by model, or by type? Does anybody know that?
By product code, and if it's class 2 or a de novo by the K number that the FDA gives you, or the DEN number.
But each device, each
Yeah.
unique device is going to have its own identifier. And so in the GUIDed database, you'll have to list each configuration that's slightly different. Like a small size, a large size catheter, they're going to have their own numbers in that database. Even if they're both cleared under the same 510K or something.
And so she's talking about the good ID database now.
Yeah, which is your listing. I mean, it's part of your listing.
Yeah, but you can put all those things that she just said, you can put them all under one listing, but you put them as proprietary names or product codes underneath that same listing.
Yeah, just trying to figure out something. So I might reach out to both of you at some point, but thank you. Thank you.
And
Yeah, Michelle's a great resource.
Ms.
Yeah,
Mitchell,
I
that's
know.
it here.
Nicholas tells me, and what's this about you not being able to come to 10X after all? You have a conflict now?
Okay, so as a matter of fact, I just came back from Taipei because one time I said greetings from Taipei and you were kind of wondering where I was. I think I was there for a couple of weeks for some meetings and I just got home last Friday, but I'm heading out again on April 16th. I have a UK client. We are develop a new pressure injury prevention system. Then I have Belgian company coming to, we're gonna work through all the MDR stuff because they've been audited. And then the factory got their own auditing May, what's the week following, like May 6th or May 7th. They are FDA, they are TUB should auditing on the May 6th, the week of May 6th. So I have to be there. So I won't be back from Taipei till like May 14th-ish. So I'm totally missed it. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. But you mentioned, I think you said negative pressure for wounds.
No, so the manufacturers I work with, that the 3 big category is pressure injury prevention. Those are beds people use to.
Right, of course, right.
Yeah. And then also the compression, which is DVT and lymphedema. So those are the 3 product areas I'm more familiar with. And then also because the manufacturer have a lot of clients in Europe, so I have to work with those people on their MDR stuff. And then now I'm asking to do some FDA stuff. The FDA part, I'm only familiar with the 510K clearance and the 510K is them. And I'm not quite sure about the listing and labeling. So I'm trying to educate myself, try to go to school myself.
Okay.
So
Well,
learning.
Michelle Lott has a lot of content on her site, and if you're not following her on LinkedIn, shame on you. And start to
Well,
do.
I watch her stuff and then I went on her website. Actually, I think we had a couple emails. So I'll do more of that. Thank you.
Okay. All right, family, that takes care of this week. Andre, I'm too glad to have roped you in. Thank you for educating
It's
us.
a great talk. It's a wonderful talk.
He's a
So
gifted,
we got a lot
gifted and
to learn.
engaging speaker in any language.
Oh, well, thank you, Joe. Appreciate that.
See you this time next week, folks. Have a good one. Bye for now.
Bye.
Out.